Here we go, here we go, here we go. Hello, everybody. That's the Here We Go song. Here we go, here we go. It's not a real song. It's just a song that I sing when I'm starting the live stream. Hey, welcome to this live stream. As you can see, I have gotten my hair cut and trimmed my beard for this live stream, but also because school starts again on Monday. So I need to be ready to go back to work. Let me just double check to make sure everything is working. I'm throwing things on the ground here. I just dropped my reading glasses. Here we go. Okay, for some reason I have this old pair today. It looks like everything's working the way it's supposed to, and that means I could start the lesson. Let me just double check a couple of things. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about bigger and smaller things. In this English lesson, we'll look at about 25 word pairs, and each one will have a word representing something bigger. Like you see here, there's a bill. It looks like a $50 bill in the background, and then coins. So the bill would be bigger and the coins would be smaller. So in this English lesson, I will help you learn some new English vocabulary for things that are different sizes from each other. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about bigger and smaller things. Hey, before we get started though, I should say Happy New Year to everyone. It is January 2nd today. Just so you know, there is a live stream right now. If you're watching this at 8:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I started a couple of minutes early. But there will also be a live Q&A lesson, question and answer lesson tomorrow at 10 a.m. because it's the first Saturday of the month. So a little bit of a busy weekend for me, but you know what? I have had a beautiful week and a half of doing hardly anything. So I'm happy to be back at it, happy to be making English lessons for you again. In the chat, we have Freddie Wolf, Ismail, Know That, Sophia, Judith or Aerosmith is here, Wilma, Marco, Flossie, let me see, Unsel is here, I know that. John, scrolling back, Mason, lots of familiar faces and some new faces. Well, welcome. This is, I'm Bob the Canadian, and this is my YouTube channel where I teach English lessons. And I think I'm going to jump right into this one. I think that I wouldn't mind jumping right in. The sooner I get this done, the better. The reason I say that is because I was up really, really early this morning. I've already been to Toronto Airport and back. I had to drop a friend off at the airport. So that's all done. And I'm back home. I got up at 3 a.m. I was home again by 6:30 a.m. And I took a 1-hour nap. And now here I am doing this. And I think I'm going to sleep after this again. Anyways, hello to all of you. Let's get this lesson started. Block and brick. Let me make these a little bit bigger for you. I think we can go supersize on these. So these are two things that we use to make a building, to build a building. In Canada, we sometimes build our buildings out of wood, and then the outside of the building might also have brick or block, or the building will simply be made out of block. So if you look on the far side, we often call that a cement block. Jen and I have a few cement blocks on the farm that we use for other things. Sometimes it's nice to use it as a weight because it's heavy. And other times we use it to, when we put a jack down on our machinery, sometimes we put a cement block under the jack. A little bit of a complicated explanation there. But two items that you use to build a building. Our barn, if you look in my English lesson videos, when you see the barn in the background, is made out of block, the big cement blocks. My house is actually made out of brick. So block and brick. Donut and donut hole. Now in Canada, we call this little one a timbit. But in most parts of the world, they call it a donut hole. A donut is a baked treat made out of dough. And then they deep fry the dough, and then they'll put chocolate or another topping on top. And then one day someone invented these little tiny donuts, and they called it a donut hole. It isn't actually from the hole in the donut, but it kind of looks like it is. But a donut hole is a small, sweet baked treat. It's very much just a tiny donut made into a ball. So a donut is big. A donut hole is small. I think if you eat 4 donut holes, it's the same as 1 donut. And again, here in Canada, we call this little one a timbit because we buy them at a cafe or coffee shop called Tim Hortons. And then their small little ones are called timbits. Kind of a fun and cute name. King size and normal size. So sometimes you are curious as to where I come up with the ideas for this lesson. Well, this past couple of weeks, I received a lot of different kinds of chocolate as gifts because it was the Christmas season. And one of them said king size on it. So king size simply means bigger than the normal size. You can have a king size chocolate bar. You can have a king size bed. But normally when I get a chocolate bar, it's like this one, the normal size. I don't often get a king size chocolate bar. So king size simply means bigger than normal. And I think it's called king size because it's fit for a king. It's something that's bigger than what normal people would eat. So if you were a king of a country, that's the size of item you would get. And then, of course, tablespoon and teaspoon. So if I eat soup, I use a tablespoon. If I put sugar in my tea, I use a teaspoon. So they're just slightly different sizes when you compare them. If I am going to eat a bowl of cereal, I grab a tablespoon and I use that to eat my cereal with milk. Lactose-free milk, of course. And then if I go to put sugar in my coffee or tea, I will use a teaspoon. So a tablespoon, a slightly bigger spoon than a teaspoon. And we do use these for measurement as well. Although when I make something and it says it needs a tablespoon of something, I use like a measuring tablespoon, like a special tablespoon that's exactly 15 milliliters. And a teaspoon is a special measuring spoon that's exactly, I think, 5 milliliters. Don't quote me on those measurements, but there are 2 kinds of tablespoons then. The kind you just eat with and the kind that you measure with, and the same as teaspoon. I'm sure they're pretty accurate, the ones that you eat with, but if you were baking, you probably want to use the real measuring ones. Loaf and bun. So when you buy bread, you usually buy a loaf of bread, and then you use a knife to slice the bread, and then you have slices. You might buy the loaf already sliced as well. But if you want to just make a small sandwich, or maybe you're eating a hamburger, you would just use a bun, which is actually kind of like a tiny loaf of bread, isn't it? A bun. I prefer buns with soup. When I have a bowl of soup, I will often have a bun with the bowl of soup, a bun with some butter on it. But when I make a sandwich, I'll often use fresh bread, where I will take 2 slices of bread and I'll put some lettuce and tomato and maybe some kind of meat on it in order to make a bread. But anyways, a loaf is big, a bun is small. They are technically the same thing. They're both a form of bread that you eat, of course. Cake and cupcake. So if it's your birthday, someone might make you a cake. They might bake you a cake. And a cake is big enough that you can slice it, and then people can all have a slice of cake or a piece of cake. On my birthday, I think I bought donuts, actually. We didn't have cake. But a cake is a common treat, a common dessert that people will eat. And again, you cut the cake into different slices or pieces, and you can have a slice of cake or a piece of cake. A cupcake is like a small, personal-sized cake. It's big enough for one person to eat. So you might say to yourself, for my birthday, I'm going to buy a dozen cupcakes, and everyone can have a cupcake. Or you might say, I'm going to bake a cake, and then everyone can have a piece of cake. Bill and coin, I mentioned this one at the beginning. You in your country might have coins, which are small. I don't have any on my desk, do I? No, I don't. Which are small forms of currency. Or you might have bills, which are more like a paper form of currency, although it's a lot tougher than paper. At least the bills in Canada, they don't break very easily. Here you have a $5 bill and a $1 coin. The bill is obviously bigger than the coin. I have to say this though, I don't use money very often anymore. At Christmas, I got some money as gifts. Sometimes when you open a Christmas card or a birthday card, someone will put money inside as a gift. And so I've been using a little bit of money the last couple of weeks. And then it seems strange because I pay for almost everything now with my phone. You know, you just tap your phone, or sometimes still with my bank card. So anyways, a bill, a $5 bill, a $10 bill is bigger than a $1 coin or a 25-cent coin or whatever your coins are. Mountain and hill. Obviously, a mountain is so high that it gets snow on the top. A hill is any part of the countryside where there is a mound or something you can climb up on. A mountain is definitely way bigger than a hill. If you wanted to climb a mountain, you would need special equipment. You would need climbing gear. You would need to maybe practice climbing on smaller parts before you climb a real mountain. But with a hill, like even this hill, you can see there's a little trail going to the top. You wouldn't need any special equipment in order to go up that hill. So a mountain is definitely many, many times bigger than a hill. Lake and pond. So a lake is a large body of fresh water. When we say fresh water, we mean it's not seawater. It doesn't have salt in it. And a pond is a very small body of fresh water. So if you see a lake, and if you wanted to cross the lake, it would probably take some time to cross the lake. Although if you see a pond, you could probably walk around the pond in about 10 minutes. A pond is usually quite small. A lake will, of course, have fish in it and those kinds of things. And you can probably take a motorboat on a lake, whereas a pond is so small, you might not even be able to put a canoe or small boat in it. So a lake, big enough to go fishing, big enough to go boating. A pond, so small that you can probably walk around it in less than 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Meal and snack. So on the far side, you see a hamburger with fries. To me, that is a meal. If I was to have lunch or dinner, I might sit down at a restaurant and have a hamburger with fries, and I would consider that a meal. It's enough food to make me no longer hungry, and it's one of my main times of eating during the day. At breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you might sit down and have a meal. Although I must say we usually use meal to talk about lunch or dinner more. Usually we just call breakfast breakfast. I had breakfast this morning. I had a nice meal at lunch. I had a nice meal at dinner time or supper time. You can see close to me though, there are some crackers with, it looks like a slice of apple and some cheese. This would simply be a snack. This would be something you would eat between breakfast and lunch or between lunch and supper because you're a little bit hungry, and you would eat that as just a little snack, just so you have a little bit of food to fill your stomach a little bit before lunchtime or supper time arrives. Hey, let's look at some questions. Let me do something here though. I'm going to put a cough drop in my mouth. I don't know. This is the time of year where the air is really dry. So sometimes it's nice to keep things feeling nice. From Judith. Hi, Bob. Every cloud has a silver lining. Something small can have a benefit the bigger can't have. Would you say an example? Thank you. You know, we have a really small car. And I would say the silver lining of that car is that it doesn't use very much gas. So even though we can put more things in our van, we can put more people in our van, even though the car is smaller, the silver lining is that it is really, really efficient on gas, for sure. From Judith, hi, Bob. A small item can have a benefit the bigger can't have. Would you say an example? Thank you. Wait, didn't I just do that? Let me think of another one. I was going to say like my Fitbit is a little bit smaller and cheaper than an Apple Watch. And one of the benefits is that if I lose it, oh, now I've messed it up. If I lose it, it's really cheap to buy another one. So that is something that has a benefit. I was going to say something else too. We had some really small but expensive chocolates at Christmas. And even though they were smaller than the bigger chocolate, because they were really well made by a chocolatier, they tasted better. So I would say that is a good example. From Judith, hi Bob. What is the smallest item in your house? Thank you. Happy New Year. I would say probably like the little pins we use to put things on the wall or on our corkboard in the kitchen. Those are very, very small. I also have a collection of small animals here on my desk. Let's get it in front of my face so it focuses. I think this is a corgi, possibly. And then here we have, I don't know why I'm showing these, because they're small, I guess. This is a hippo. These were little animals that you would get for free in the tea when I was a kid. My mom had a collection of these. And when she moved a couple years ago out of her house into an apartment, she didn't want to keep all of these little tiny things. And so my brothers and sisters and I, we divided them up. So those are some of the small things in my house. From I'm Behind You. I came up with the idea of calling the people watching your videos Bobber. Tell me what your thoughts are on this. Appreciate your existence. Thanks. I think they've been called Bobbies. Bobbers would probably be okay as well. I think that's how you're saying it, Bobbers. But that would be a good name. Hello to all the Bobbies. Hello to all the Bobbers. Hello to all the Bob watchers. And I don't think you're behind me. Let's have a look. No, I don't see you anywhere. But who knows? Maybe. From Muhammad. How can I learn English as a second language? You're doing it right now. Watch English lessons like this. They will help you quite a bit. And make sure you are doing a lot of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And make sure you have a plan. It's just good to have a plan. How are you going to use each day of the week? And what are you going to do on each day? From Judith, are you from Smithville in Hamilton? The closest town to me is the town of Smithville. That's where I have my P.O. box. The closest city to me is the city of Hamilton. Smithville is actually quite small. You've seen Smithville quite a bit in my videos. So, Ismail, hi Bob. Hope you're doing well. Is a tart just a smaller pie? That was a very interesting. Maybe Isabel is behind me and sees my slides. Is a tart just a smaller pie, or is it something different? Wishing you a happy new year. It can be both. You can have like a big apple pie, and you can have an apple tart. You can have a cherry pie and a cherry tart. But you can also have something called a butter tart. There's no pie version of that. Although pecan pie is a lot like a butter tart. So very, it's like you could see the future, Ismail. You knew what was coming next. From Yamada, have you ever talked to a Japanese person? Yes. As Japanese, it's really hard to speak English extensively. Are there any tips? More practice, and specifically pronunciation practice. Sometimes certain languages in the world don't lend themselves well to the English, some of the English pronunciation. And so I would not just learn the language, but learn and practice pronunciation and find a pronunciation coach as well. And then just lots of practice, of course, as I usually recommend. From Unsel. Hi, listening to this joyful live stream while cooking in the kitchen. Sounds yummy. Such a nice moment. Happy New Year. Time spent together is truly priceless. Thanks. You're awesome. Yes, I as well had a nice break, a nice New Year's Eve, a nice New Year's Day. I will be going to the gym later today. I've been going since the end of October. I'm a little bit worried the gym is going to be very, very packed today, though. I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of people because often this time of year, a lot of people's New Year's resolution is to work out and get in shape. Bob Loving Person, do you know what the comprehension hypothesis is? I don't. Does it have to do with listening to a lot of English? Let's see. That language is acquired unconsciously through understanding messages, comprehensible input. Yeah, I do agree that you should be doing a lot of reading and a lot of listening. And you should be listening to things and reading things that you can understand, but are a little bit challenging. So you're challenging yourself. But I don't think you can learn a language without practicing writing or speaking. And that's not what they totally say with comprehensible input and comprehension hypothesis. But I do think I think the idea that children learn to speak by listening isn't actually true. Children learn to speak by listening, but also by attempting to speak a lot. If you listen to a 1.5-year-old child, they will pretend to be talking even if they don't know words. They are always trying to listen, but also trying to communicate. And eventually they form words. So yeah, do a lot of listening, do a lot of reading, but don't forget to practice the other parts of language learning as well. From Mazen, Happy New Year, Teacher Bob. Happy New Year to you as well. And Happy New Year to all of you who are watching. Let's see here. From Ayat. Good morning and Happy New Year, Sir Bob. I don't have any questions today. I just wanted to thank you. I learned a lot from your videos, so a big thank you, teacher. You are very, very welcome, and Happy New Year to you as well. From I'm Behind You Again. Can you please tell me the difference between smell and scent? Love you. So smell, like someone can smell nice. Food can smell nice. Food can smell bad. People can smell bad. Like the word smell does not indicate a positive or negative smell. With scent, to me, scent often like, oh, it's a beautiful scent. Like it seems a little more positive to me. Smell is just the common way to use it. Like you can smell something, something can smell. So you can use it more. It's more flexible as a word. But scent, yeah, like it was a pleasant scent. Usually when I think of scent, like a candle gives off a nice scent. If you have a hot drink, it might have a nice scent to it. So, or perfume might have a nice scent. I usually think of positive things. Mazen, what is the biggest thing in your room? Probably the couch right here is the biggest thing in my room. And it has a chaise lounge at the end. So I think that is probably the biggest thing in the room where I am sitting. From I'm Above You, what's the biggest thing in your house? That's a good, it might be the couch as well. I'm trying to think we have a queen size bed in a couple of our rooms. That would be pretty big, but yeah, probably the couch. Not my TV. I just have a normal size TV. From Judith, hi Bob. What can I do if the former question wasn't for me? I recognize someone using my name last week too. Thanks. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. So sorry, unless you use a code name from now on that only you and I know, and then I know it's you, but then that person might copy it as well. So sorry. I'm sorry if that's happening to you. It's not nice if someone uses your name. Let's see here. We're going to get back to the lesson from Dora. Hi, Bob. How can I stop always thinking about arranging words in a sentence before I speak? I really appreciate your help. You can't and you don't have to. At this point, if you are still thinking about the words you're going to say before you say them, just keep doing that because eventually your brain will do it faster and faster and it will become automatic. Think of it this way. If you drive a car, when you first start driving a car, you think of everything. Where are my hands? Do I need to turn the signal on? Your brain is overthinking driving. But after 10 years, you can drive to work and not even really remember pushing the gas pedal or using the steering wheel. So that is what I would say about that. Don't worry about it. It will eventually become automatic. That is my belief. From Remix 5, I just got a live notification, so I'm here to wish you a Happy New Year, Teacher Bob, and everyone here in the chat. Well, thanks for popping in for doing that. Daily Life also says, Happy New Year. I'm on a working holiday in Canada. It's been almost 3 months since I came here. Learning, speaking are really different to me. I hope I will be better than last year. I hope so too. That would be cool if you can get better at it. Okay, here we go. Pie and tart. So a pie is a large baked item, very common in North America, very common in Canada and in the United States. You can buy cherry pie or bake a cherry pie, apple pie, blueberry pie. There are a lot of different kinds of pie. I personally really like apple pie, but a tart is like a small pie. So just as we had cake and cupcake, we also have pie and tart. When you have a pie, you can cut the pie into pieces and you can have a piece of pie. I'll have a piece of pie. I'll have a really big piece of apple pie, please, with some ice cream on top. Or you might just have a tart, which is just big enough for one person. So pie and tart. One is definitely bigger than the other. Jug and bottle. So when we go to town to get water, we fill our water jugs, that really big thing over there. I actually have one right beside me on the floor. We don't drink the water from our cistern because it's not that, excuse me, it's not that clean. It's not the best water. So we get jugs of water from town, and we don't buy our water because we can get water. We can fill our water jugs for free from the community water thing. But if we're on a trip, we might buy a small bottle of water so that we have something to drink while we are on a trip. You wouldn't take a jug of water on a trip. That would be a little bit crazy. Book and booklet. When you read a book, it's about this thick. You sit in a chair, you read the story, or you read about whatever the book is about. But sometimes when you buy a piece of furniture, you get a booklet, which is a very, very thin book. It might only have 6 or 8 pages in it. When you buy furniture from IKEA, there's often an instruction booklet, a small, tiny, tiny book that tells you how to put the furniture together. But a book is something you would get from the library. It will be written by an author, and hopefully it has an amazing story in it. A booklet is just something small. When you buy a TV or a piece of furniture, there will often be an instruction booklet with it that tells you how to use that item. Store and kiosk. So a store is an entire building, or it's a building inside of a building. That didn't really make sense. When you go to the mall, there are lots of big stores that have walls. When you go to town, there might be stores that are actual buildings, but a kiosk is just a little shop like this. In the mall, the kiosk is usually in the middle of the place where you walk, and then there's stores along the side. But a kiosk is a really nice place to go if you need to buy candy or something simple. A store usually is bigger and has far more items. Camper and tent. So we often call that a camper trailer or a camper. It's something that you hook behind your car or your truck, and you will pull it to the campground. So you will hook it up to your car or truck, and then you will pull it. A tent is, of course, simply made out of fabric, usually canvas or nylon. And it's something that folds up, and you can put it in a bag. And then when you set it up, it provides a place for you to sleep. It hopefully keeps out the rain, keeps out the insects, and all those kinds of things. So a camper is like a trailer. It can also be like a motorhome, can be a camper as well, like something that drives itself that you can sleep in. But definitely a camper is bigger than a tent, more spacious than a tent, meaning it has more room inside. Boulder and rock and pebble. So we have a few comparisons here. A boulder is a really, really, really big rock. That's the best way to describe it. You can't pick it up, but you can sit on it. There is a place near me where people will climb on boulders, and that's where the sport of bouldering came from. That's how it got its name. So bouldering is when you climb on rocks that are so big that it takes a few minutes to get from the bottom to the top. Whereas a rock is simply something like you can pick up a rock, you can throw a rock in the water in a lake or something like that and hear it go plunk. A rock is not nearly as big as a boulder. Although you could have a rock. Let me see. Is a rock always something you can pick up? No, you could have a rock so big that you wouldn't be able to pick it up as well. And then, of course, a rock like we just talked about, or you can also have a pebble, which is a very, very small rock. So when you go to the beach, there might be sand on the beach, but there might also be pebbles on the beach. And the pebbles might be really round and really nice to collect. Some people like to collect pebbles from the beach. Field and garden. So a garden is a small area where you can grow vegetables or flowers. A field is a large area where you can grow crops, or you can grow vegetables, or you can grow flowers. The biggest difference is usually a field is bigger, but you also have a field to grow crops to sell to make money. Whereas you might just have a garden to grow food for yourself. So definitely the size is different, and what you use it for can also be a little bit different. So a field is something a farmer would have. A garden is something that anyone could have. A lot of people will have a small garden where they grow things. Mansion and house. I do not live in a mansion. I live in a house. And let's check the pronunciation here again. Mansion. If you are extremely wealthy, you might have a really, really big house, and it might be so big that you call it a mansion. My house has 2 bathrooms. A mansion might have 14 bathrooms. My house has 1 kitchen. A mansion might have 6 kitchens. A mansion is, of course, a very, very, very big house. And then this on this side is a house, just a normal size place to live, where you can easily raise a family or live by yourself or with a partner, and have it be very easy to clean on a Saturday morning. I don't know if I would even enjoy living in a mansion because it would be too hard to clean. Hey, let's do some questions. Let me turn on members only chat, which we do every time there is a live lesson. I do want to thank Know That. Let me back up here. So Know That sent 5 memberships. Thank you very much. So if you're one of the 5 people who got a free membership from Know That, you can go to the post section of this YouTube channel and see all the members only content. And then Femi Kanakur, 1 second here. Sorry, I had to cough there. I'm not sure if you heard the cough anyways. And that's the wrong message there, but that was my mute screen. I should make sure that you can still hear me. Give me a second here. I think we're all good. Where were we? I was thanking Femi Kanakur, 10 gift memberships. So again, if you are 5 of the people from Know That or 10 of the people from Femi who got gift memberships, you can go to the post section and you can see all of the members only posts. I'm also going to turn on members only chat. Give me a second here. If you are a member of the channel, you can ask a question directly in the chat and I will try to answer it. Unabi says, hi, Mr. Bob. Wish you a great new year. I hope it'll be better than previous for everyone. Can I make a little suggestion about this lesson? Let's call it most and least. For some of these, that would work. In a pie, you get more apple. You get the most apples in a pie. You get the most rooms in a house and the least amount of rooms in, you get the most rooms in a mansion. So we could call it that. That would certainly work. Let's see here. Mr. Fashiri, if there's a choice, do you folks want to live in a haunted mansion or a normal house? Normal house every time. That would be my vote. Okay, let me do a few questions from the form, and I'll jump to members only in a second. Hasham says, hi, sir. What did you do on New Year's Eve? We got together with some folks, some family, and we played games. It was a lot of fun and ate too much food. As always, Christmas and New Year's is a time to eat too much food. I'm Below You says, hi, Bob. In Japan, there's a cultural event where relatives give their kids money called, I won't try to say it, I'll mispronounce it. Do you have that cultural thing in Canada? Here's what usually happens in Canada. Parents buy their children gifts when they're young, and at a certain age, you will most likely buy your adult age children gift cards or give them money. My mom gives me a little card with a little bit of money in it for Christmas. It's not a lot, but I'm very thankful for it. So I think that's pretty common in Canada for parent. Like some of my kids are in their 20s now, I just give them a little bit of money instead of a gift at Christmas. Dude from Asia, Happy New Year. Your videos help me learn English and also helps combating brain rot if you know what it is. I'm also practicing critical thinking. Good for you, dude from Asia. I'm glad to hear that. Brain rot is when there's some things online where like if you just go and scroll endlessly watching short videos, that can be a little bit, it's not like you get smarter doing that, right? So it's a little bit of brain rot. Key Park, what's the difference between mansion and castle? So a castle is even bigger than a mansion. And a castle is generally owned by royalty. Not always, but like a duke or an earl, a king or queen might live in a castle. Know that. Hey, Bob, how was your New Year's Eve? Did you watch the fireworks or did you end up going to bed early like you mentioned last Friday? Only if you don't mind me asking. Thanks, Bob. I did stay up till 1 o'clock and I did watch the New York City, the ball dropping. We all watched that on TV and then shouted Happy New Year. And then sat around and chatted for another 45 minutes, and then it was bedtime. Sonia says, Happy New Year, Bob. I send you my great wishes for 2026. Greetings from Switzerland. Thank you very much. Same to you. I wish you a good 2026. Know that. What are your plans for today, Bob? Is there anything special you're up to? Thanks in advance. Because I was at the airport this morning really early. I have two plans for today. Number one, have a nap. And number two, I'm planning to go to the gym, although like I mentioned earlier, it might be super, super busy. Mr. Fisheri, Hafia says, is that a Toronto Raptors jersey? Why, yes, it is. But, I think I regret buying it because you can the light is making it somewhat easy to see, but you can't really see that it's a Toronto Raptors hoodie. Looks great and clean, as the youngsters call it. Nice drip. Thank you very much. Haki says, hi, Bob. Hello to you as well. Let's get a question up here. You're a subscriber. Do you play any music instruments? If so, tell me why. I do not. I did take piano lessons for about half a year when I was a kid. I used to play a couple of songs. I can't remember the names, but I don't remember. I think Ode to Joy I can play a little bit of, but that's it. I took, I think it was 6 months, 5 or 6 months of piano lessons. Hasham, what's your favorite classic English poem? My classic English poem is, here we go, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. I really like that poem. Am I allowed to read it? I don't know if it's copyrighted. Let's see here. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I'm sorry I could not travel both. And B, one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Yeah, I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I won't read the whole thing, but that is one of my favorite poems for sure. But no, there is no but. That's it. Mason, is tap water potable or potable in Canada? We don't drink our tap water because we live out in the country. If you live in the city or in town, you may drink the water straight from the tap. At work, I drink tap water all the time. No problem at all. Let's see. Ismail says, sorry, I sent the wrong question. Looks like everything's fine. I'm curious now to see what that question was. Let me check the forum. I want to read ahead. Let's see. Oh, everything's fine. Okay, good. Everything's fine. Bear Vilson says, hi, everybody. Hi. Oh, Happy New Year, all. Happy New Year, Teacher Bob. Took me a while to figure that out, Bear Vilson. Nice to see you. Good to have you here. From Know That, speaking of plans, I read about the Polar Bear Dip 2026 in your region, Bob. Have you ever considered joining it, or maybe have you already tried it? A heartfelt thank you. No and no, and I'm not going to try it. The Polar Bear Dip is when people go to Lake Erie or Lake Ontario and they jump in the freezing cold water on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. I don't know when exactly they do it, but no, I have no interest in jumping through the ice into freezing cold water. Freddie says, after having feasted too much on New Year's Eve, did you have a hairache? En français, on dit avoir mal aux cheveux quand un peu trop festoyé. Yeah, got my hair cut. No, I actually didn't eat too much during the break. I obviously enjoyed myself and ate more than I normally do, but I tried to eat in moderation during the break. Freddie says, if you live in a mansion and when you go from room to another, you will almost change the time zone, won't you? Yes. Mr. Fisher, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, if anyone interested in Bob's favorite poem. There you go. One of my favorite. That'd be one I would say is one of my favorite. From Bridget. Hi, Bridget. Do you have some holiday plans for 2026 or some special things to do? No, we'll probably go see a Raptors game. We'll probably go see some baseball games, but nothing crazy. Ismail, how are your exercises going these days? Do you still feel one arm is a bit smaller after the injury, or is it getting bigger now? I'm starting to feel quite a bit better. I'm up to 7.5 pounds of weight, and in a week and a half, I'll be up to 10 pounds. I'll be doing 10-pound weights, so we'll see. I'm feeling a lot better. I can tell that my heart rate, my resting heart rate, is going down, which starts to happen after you do cardio for a number of weeks. So thanks for asking, Ismail. No, that says, could you explain the meaning of the phrase to deprive somebody of something and give some examples of how it is used? Thanks a lot. So you can deprive, let's say your dog was sick and you didn't take your dog to the vet, you would be depriving your dog of health care. If you, I'm trying to think, like if I buy yummy snacks and don't let my kids eat them, some people would say I'm depriving my kids of fun food. I might just think it's healthy, but that would be another example. It means to not provide something for someone. From Michael, Happy New Year, Teacher Bob. I'm sorry you had to put Oscar to sleep. Hopefully Jen isn't too sad. So that news I have not announced yet on this channel, but Oscar grew to a ripe old age of almost 11. But he was very sick earlier the last few months, and so he is no longer with us. So that was a sad time for me and Jen and the family. You can watch Jen's channel, which is called My Flower Farm. 1 or 2 videos ago, she talked a little bit about it. So some sad news from me and from Jen as well. Freddie Wolf. So Walter is our only dog now. From Freddie Wolf. Bob, have you defined some good resolution in 26? No, just to lose a bit of weight and be healthy, but I already started that in October. I want to get back to how I felt before I broke my collarbone. Mr. Fisher, speaking of bigger and smaller, my tummy is getting bigger while my wallet is getting smaller. Yes, that does happen at this time of year. Let me just make sure. Let me turn off members only chat, and I will, of course, thank all the members as well. Thank you very much for being members. And then let me scroll back to make sure. No, that says I got it. Thank you very much for your explanation. No problem. I think I got all of the members' questions and chat. I think my arms are the same size again. they're getting there. Okay. Let's finish off this lesson. There's not too much. Yes. Okay. Brett says, sorry to hear about Oscar. So sad. Very sad. Yes. Especially because he was the dog that we got when our kids were really little. So if you think about the age of my kids, 10 years ago, they were all children, basically. So the dog you have when you're a little kid is usually the dog you remember the most in life. So let's see. Freddie Wolf says, yes, that's true. Oscar has reached dog's heaven. Yes. Very sad, Una B. Condolences to you as well, Bob, regarding Oscar. Thank you. Your guardian angel, Oscar, the amazing dog, forever in our hearts. Yeah, he was, I think, the best dog we've had. That's how I would describe him in terms of being Jen's friend when I was at work and those kinds of things. So very, very nice that he was around. Okay, let's finish off the lesson. Uppercase, lowercase. So, of course, when you write, you use uppercase letters when you start a sentence, or with formal names like Bob, starts with a capital B, and you use lowercase letters for the rest of the words. So we sometimes say, so my name starts with the uppercase B, or what did I just say? Uppercase B, or I have to rewind this. Big letter B. So we have big letters and little letters. You could say that my name starts with uppercase B or with a capital B. There we go. And then all the rest of the letters are lowercase. So in this example, I have an uppercase T and a lowercase t. You use the shift key on the keyboard to type in uppercase. Road and trail. So a road is obviously a place where people travel regularly to the point where it has been paved or there is gravel so that you can drive vehicles down it. So when you are on a road, you want to be careful because there are going to be cars driving back and forth. When you're on a trail, however, it's usually for walking or hiking. You might actually see bicycles or e-bikes on a trail, and you might see snowmobiles or dirt bikes, which are motorized vehicles as well. But you'll know, like some trails will say hiking only, and other trails will say like, careful, this trail is also used by motorcycles dirt bikes. That's like a motorcycle for going off-road, or snowmobiles. In Canada, there are a lot of snowmobile trails. A log and a branch and a twig. So obviously a log is a very big piece of wood from a tree. It's probably from the trunk or from a very large branch. But when I think of a log, it's like this big around. Like a log is very, very big in the far picture. Sometimes after a windstorm, branches will fall off the trees and you will have to clean up the branches that are on the ground. So a log, usually from the trunk, or it can be part of a very large branch, but definitely bigger than a branch. And then branch and twig. A twig is just a very small piece of a tree. You might even call it a stick. Although when I think twig, to me, a twig is smaller than a stick. There's a branch, and then a stick is smaller than a branch, and a twig is smaller than a stick as well. And then, of course, you can have a tree, which is a large plant that grows, and you can stand under it in the shade. Or you can have a bush, which is a smaller, sometimes a bush can look like a little tree, but a bush is usually not very big at all. So just think of it this way. You can stand under a tree. You can't stand under a bush. It's simply too small. And then we have a molecule and an atom. Everything around us is made up of atoms, which are very, very tiny. Like you can have a carbon atom or an oxygen atom or a hydrogen atom. And sometimes those atoms connect to each other and they make what's called a molecule. I don't know what molecule that is over there. It's just from Wikipedia. But an atom is considered the building block of everything that you see around us. And a molecule is a formation of atoms. Excuse me. There we go. Let me finish off the questions and we will wrap this lesson up. Looks like I have about 10 questions left. Let me mention this. Let me mention this as well. There will be a live lesson tomorrow. So I look forward to seeing you there as well. From Mark Carney. You've been doing really great on YouTube. You've helped so many people and been helping people. What's the most important thing to be a nice person like you? So, first of all, I think teachers, like I am a professional teacher. My job is to go to a school and to teach students. I think by our very nature, we like helping people. Like some people like building things. Some people like cleaning things. Some people like figuring out what's wrong with people and prescribing them medicine. Teachers, by our very nature, we need to be kind in order to do our job well. Some teachers aren't kind, but yes, we need to be kind and to be very helpful to people. So I think it's just in the, like, almost every teacher I know who's done it for more than 4 or 5 years is somewhat of a kind person. So that's all I would say is hopefully you could just find ways to be nice to people and to be helpful. Judith. Hi, Bob. When was the last time you threw a small rock into a lake so it made circles on the surface? Thanks. Well, I threw a rock in the river just a couple months ago, so not that long ago. If I'm by water and there are rocks, I will be throwing rocks in. From Akil. Hi, how are you, sir? What is the difference between lavatory, toilet, bathroom, and washroom? It depends where you live. In Canada, we often call it a washroom or a bathroom. But in other parts of the English-speaking world, you'll need to figure out by looking at the signs what the common name is. In Canada, you will see a sign that says washrooms with an arrow, or bathrooms, one of those two. So it really just depends where you are. From Femi. Hi, Bob. Hope you are doing great. I guess you would not be worried about cleaning if you were living in a mansion. You know, if you lived in a mansion, it would be too big to clean, but then you would probably hire people to clean it, wouldn't you? Is that what you're saying, Femi? I think so. So I can skip Ismail's. From Sandoval. Hello, Bob. What do you think about studying English by watching TV news and weather reports every day? Much love. So I like that, but I would add to it. I would read the news and then watch the news. I would read the news, listen to the news on the radio, and watch the news all in English, because I think then you're building on whatever vocab you hear when you're listening to the radio, you might see when you're reading the news article, and then also hear when you are watching the news. Let's see. Handsome boy, you're sort of like my English father. What do you think is the most important thing to be a good father? Be around. So I think it's important to support your family by having a job and making money. But I also think it's important to spend time with your kids, like play with your kids when they're little, play video games with your kids when they're a bit older. I didn't always have time for all those things, but I tried my best. It can be hard because if you're working a lot because you need money to pay the bills, you don't have as much time to spend with your kids, but you have to figure out a balance somewhere in there. That would be my advice. From Mario, what do you like to drink? Mostly water. Water and tea with honey. Mazin, I've been watching your videos since 2020. Time passed pretty quickly. Well, thank you for being around that long. That is very cool. 2020, so 6 years. Yeah, tomorrow it will be 9 years. January 3rd, 2026, I will have done YouTube for 9 years. Squirrel, do you have any ideas to find acorns? Look under oak trees. That is my best advice. Look under oak trees, you will find them. From Charlotte, Happy New Year, Bob. What do you think about practicing listening skills through dictation? Is it helpful? So one thing that people who've watched my channel for a while will realize is I believe that everything you do when learning a language is worthwhile. So if you're listening and writing down what you hear, that is very worthwhile, but it shouldn't be the only listening practice that you do. There should be other things you do as well to practice your listening. So yes, do dictation, but also make sure you're just listening to a lot of music. Make sure that you are listening to something where there's questions afterwards, where you have to understand what you have heard and then be able to answer questions later. So do everything is what I am saying. From Hamid, you are doing great, Mr. Bob. Thank you so much. And I want you to talk about discipline because I think it's important in our life. Thanks, Mr. Bob. So discipline is when, like, let's say you want to be healthy and you go for a run 3 times a week and you do it for a whole year. You're very disciplined. You've made yourself do something that isn't always enjoyable. Let's say you want to eat healthy, and so you start to cook your own food and you stop going to a restaurant every day and you do that for a year. That's discipline. You are a very disciplined person, and it's just a good thing. It's a good character trait to have. If you can discipline yourself to study English for an hour every day, 5 or 6 days a week, that will be very, very helpful for your English learning. Hey, Mr. Fishieri says, it's crazy to hear 2017 was 9 years ago. Mind blown. Yes, isn't that crazy? 2017, January 3rd, 2017, I took my camera outside and I made a really short English lesson. I think we all watched it together one time. I'm just pulling it up for a sec. I'll put the link in the chat. I think last year, did I do a live, let's see here. Yeah, January 3rd, 2017. There it is. It even has like the old music that I used to use from iMovie. Let me put it in the chat. Here is my first English lesson from years ago. Hey, we're celebrating too early. It's not 9 years till tomorrow. But there you go. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. I got to save my voice for tomorrow. I'm going to eat a few throat lozenges today and drink lots of tea with honey. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to shut this down. So bye to Mr. Fishieri. Bye to Know That. Thank you for the awesome lesson, Bob. Wishing you and your family a wonderful Friday. Take care and don't overdo it later at the gym. I won't. And if you are looking for something to do today, you can watch my first video in preparation of tomorrow. So tomorrow is your 9th year celebration during the live stream. Yes, it will be exactly timed out perfectly, Hafiz. So that will be very, very fun. Okay, lots of thank yous in the chat. If you're one of the 240 people here and you're not a subscriber, you should click that red subscribe button or the one below. And thank you so much to all of you for watching.